there are lots of different types of organisms out there, and some of them we describe as microorganisms. And the ones we describe as microorganisms, we use that terminology basically to consider those things that as adults, so fully grown, able to reproduce, are very tiny, probably not surprisingly. In fact, so tiny that you can't see them with your naked eye. And historically, that means that there was a whole realm of creatures that were not known to humanity. I mean, they weren't known to science. We didn't know they existed. We knew what their consequences were, what their effects could be, but we didn't really know that they existed because we couldn't see them. And it was only the invention of magnification, simple microscopes, that we became aware that these little things exist. And it turns out that these little things, in terms of the numbers of types of these things, there's more little things, more microorganisms than there are big things. That's in terms of the quality, the different kinds of things, but also in terms of quantity. In terms of sheer numbers of organisms, there are many more small things than big things, which kind of makes sense because you can fit a lot more small things in a given space than you can big things. So this is just a rundown of organisms in terms of their sizes. So plants, clearly plants are not microorganisms. I don't think there are any real true plants that you can't see with your naked eye. Animals are not considered to be microorganisms. Almost all of them are not microscopic. There are some animals, rotifers, which are pretty tiny, but animals are really not considered to be microorganisms. The macrofungi, so these would be mushrooms and shelf fungus and stuff like that. Basically, the fungi that you can see very easily are not considered to be microorganisms. The dividing line comes around here, the molds. So the molds are also fungi, but they in fact are considered to be microorganisms. You have to really, you can kind of see a jumbled mass of what are known as mycelia. But the individual cells are really sort of existing as simply the manifestation of the organism, and they're very thin and you can't see them easily. And so the molds, these tangled masses of filamentous cells, are really considered to be microorganisms. If you really want to see what's going on with a mold, you got to look at them through a microscope. And then there are smaller things yet. There are all of the bacteria-like things, collectively the prokaryotes. There are the unicellular eukaryotes, collectively the protists. Some of the protists and even the prokaryotes can get pretty big, but pretty big in terms of the single-celled organisms. We're really only talking about, at best, the size of a period at the end of a sentence. I mean, not that period at the end or a comma at the end of this sentence. This is greatly enlarged. The yeasts are single-celled fungi, and then there are the viruses, which don't even consist of cells. So all of these guys, mostly single-celled or don't even consist of cells, all the way up to the molds, that's really what the realm of the microorganisms are.